Hey, what's up? Popping in with another video. And as you start this video, you'll maybe appreciate that it's completely black. But I actually want to talk about that too. But I want to say one is that I'm making this video on a Sunday, and maybe a person may or may not appreciate that on this channel. By and large, um, I'm uh, I'm not coming from a religious or dogmatic uh, standpoint. Although I do reference some of the teachings that have been um, respected as coming from India a lot, because I have a lot of my thinking and learning has been influenced by that. And in the past, I was more interested in religious texts and religious circles. But then at a certain point, that became real to me. But sometimes sometimes they say, like, as you get closer to the truth, you also get, like, you come up against certain it's kind of like, if you can imagine, like a ship. Like, so in ordinary life, we have all the atmosphere that's in the sky is around us, close to the earth also. But in ordinary terms, we don't run up against it. Sometimes, like on a really windy day, I think you could maybe say you're being whipped by the atmosphere, because that's still the atmosphere, the wind, when it gets windy like that. But in normal circumstances, we don't come up against the atmosphere, although we're not exempt from it. But then you start doing something, like you start driving in a car, like sailing down the road, and then you actually start to feel the wind, which is the atmosphere. Or you get into something and you're trying to go, like, into to outer space, and you come up against the atmosphere, and you also have to factor in the gravity of the biggest large body that you're close to. So you're going up against the atmosphere to leave the earth, but then also it's very difficult to breach the gravitational field of the earth itself. And then, so that's very significant. But then it might also be difficult to come back into the earth also, because it's like, so here comes this fool, you actually got up out of the earth, now you want to come back, because as far as we get away from stuff, we're likely going to be coming back at a certain point, if we're honest. Kind of like the dog that got off the porch, and then a couple of days later it came back because there wasn't nothing to eat. So now you want to come back to the earth, but you have to be careful and mind yourself about coming back into a large body, so it can be as difficult leaving a body as coming into a body. And then I would imagine, if you're doing space travel, you would have, like, maybe similar dynamics, where you would have, like, too much or too little of atmosphere or gravity in space. But then you would also have different bodies that you would have to manage. But it's similar when we're developing ourselves, like, even in faith, where if it becomes that real to you, challenges in life may present themselves differently, and obstacles, because there's maybe a challenge for every rocket ship. There's a challenge and obstacle for everything that moves and doesn't move, because we don't get away from obstacles, try as we may. But sometimes, people, like, you take people like some of our great leaders, like I referenced Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, in another video. The type of antagonism that he would have been experiencing, even, like, there's probably things that we can't imagine that he went through. Even for all the things that have been written about him, there's probably still things that we can't imagine that he heard, saw, thought, felt, and then also within himself and without himself, all the way up into the point of him actually being assassinated, as kind and gentle and loving as a person as he was. And that's an example of how, when you get closer to the truth, you can also get closer to conflict. But I had not to put myself in an analogy to that, but just when I became interested in faith, it got like that. And how do you know something is getting real to you? I actually had learned that in the same faith circle, which is that, when you're doing things alone in privacy, without any fanfare or observation that you're aware of, at the same as you would do it in public, and with the same interest and esteem privately, it's real at that point. So you start reading scriptures alone, and you're as interested and content to read them alone. You start praying alone. You start worshiping alone. You start dancing alone. You start singing alone, as though you weren't alone, but you are alone. That type of energy, then you take that abroad, and you're not necessarily doing that abroad, but you're just possessed of that because you've engaged with that. That can draw a different attention, that can be both very beneficial, but also challenging. But when I got to that point, also that there can be limitations within a language and in a culture. So I came across indirectly or without intending to the works of a person that studied the teachings of India, Sir John Woodruff in the past, and it had a vocabulary for what I was experiencing. But all I meant to say is that um, that being said, I still think that Sunday is a unique day. So like I'm making this video on a Sunday, and I think that on Sundays there are a lot of collective prayer going on, and prayers going up, and prayers going in, and scriptures being read, and a lesson and testimony being shared, and people being kind to one another. So Sunday is a excellent day because, and one thing I want to go with this video is that we can't get away from the atmosphere. Even like however we feel about different things, we do share an atmosphere. We actually share, we breathe the same air, however different we are. And so from that standpoint, the things that would take place on a Sunday would affect us collectively. And I think that also might be why like Friday feels like Friday, Saturday feels like Saturday, and Monday feels like Monday, is partly just because we're all doing maybe a similar motion by and large. But so Sunday is a great day, I think, to do stuff like cleaning. Like they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. So that might be another reason why Sunday is a great day to clean, which is what I need to do today. But then also like listening to music is really cool on Sunday. I made another video about that. So if you enjoy listening to music, I actually got a message from one of the I was doing the normally I don't I listen to like a lot of music on streaming platforms, but one of it has like a digital DJ, and it'll like draw from like things that you were interested in the past and you kind of got over and forgot, but it'll bring it back to you. So I like it from that. I was listening to it from that standpoint, just to say like, dang, what was I listening to in the past? It's like, hey man, you were actually the number one, you were in the top 1% of listeners for this particular artist last week. That's really cool. And I was like, I'm not trying to flex with that, but it's just how much I listen to music. You can appreciate with that comment. And I've gotten other little messages from the platform before, like damn, you're kind of using this platform a lot, man. Props. Like it'll say that different times, but Sunday is an outstanding day, and sometimes listening to music is a little bit differently on a Sunday morning, and I think it's because of what's in the air. But then I think so. I got some more content, but I think I'll leave this video right here as the first one.